and
Yes.
the Book of Yoga, Canto 3. So we are speaking of place that Sri Aurobindo has come into, and we were talking of life, weren't we?
Hmm.
That life where it's life is in a park in an armed tranquility,
Yes.
and she has not kept any more her vehement stride and rush in this place. And she's even lost the careless majesty of her muse,
Hmm.
the ample grandeur of her regal force, and even her mighty pumps and her splendid waist are curved. And we saw that she sobered these revels of her Bacchant play
Yeah.
and cut down were her squanderings in desire's bazaar and all these other things. So now we'll continue.
Concentrate and then I start reading.
Yes, yes. So let's carry on.
Her will lived closed in adamant walls of law. Coerced was her force by chains that feigned,
Yes, feigned is
feigned,
correct.
feigned to adorn. Imagination was prisoned in a fort. Her wanton and licentious favorite, reality's poise and reason's symmetry, were set in its place, sentinelled by marshalled facts. They gave to the soul for throne a bench of law, for kingdom a small world of rule and line. The age's wisdom shriveled to scolias, how do I say that?
Scholiast.
Scolias, shriveled to Scholiast's lines, shrank, patterned into a copybook device.
Well, there's a lot to go through here.
Yes.
So we'll begin from that coerced. To coerce someone is either to compel them by force, usually to compel them by force, even if they don't want it or they don't desire it. Um, it dominates them. It even exploits them. So
Hmm.
coercing by force, coerced was this force of life by chains that feigned to adorn. So they're representing fictitiously. They're imitating. They're imitating. They're so she's forced. Her force is forced. So or compelled by chains. So she's wrapped in chains
Hmm.
that that invented or appeared to adorn. So imagination was prisoned in a fort. So you see, how can imagine get out if it's imprisoned in a force?
Hmm.
And then her wanton and licentious favorite. We have to go through those definitions. Wanton, of course, is totally rebellious and undisciplined. If someone is, you say, this is a wanton man or a wanton lady, it means she has no morals. And then he uses the word
What did you say? Totally?
wanton is rebellious, undisciplined.
Totally undisciplined, you said. Yeah.
Yes, yes. But it's almost synonymous with licentious because
Okay.
licentious means lacking moral discipline, especially in sexual conduct.
Okay. Yeah.
So we see here that imagination is her wanton and licentious favorite. She
Hmm.
really favors imagination.
Hmm.
And then he has a semicolon after that.
Yeah.
And he says, reality's poise and reason's symmetry were set in its place, sentineled by marshaled facts. Now, sentineled means stood guard over, watched, like a sentinel, stood guard over or watched.
Okay.
And then we have the word marshaled, which marshaled means arranged or placed in methodical order. So if
Okay.
you marshal your facts, you put them all in order.
Okay.
So we see that these two things, reality's poise and reason's symmetry, were just set in their place
Hmm.
and stood guard over by these marshaled facts, these
Hmm.
arranged facts.
Hmm.
And then, oh, this is really terrible. They gave to the soul for throne a bench of law. So the soul has no freedom here.
Hmm.
And he's saying that they gave this throne to the soul. And what was the throne? It was simply a bench of law.
Hmm.
I think we've done law before, haven't we?
I think so too. I'll
We
quickly check.
Yeah, let's just check that one because it's so important.
Yes, we have done law.
Good. So it has given this soul of life a throne, but that throne is simply a bench of law.
Hmm.
And even for kingdom, it has given this small world of rule and line. So we go to the next page and we see that the age's wisdom shriveled to scoliased lines. Now, shriveled, of course, is reduced in vitality or intensity.
Yeah, to shrink.
When something shrivels, yes, it shrinks, right? So it's like compressed. Now,
Yeah.
scoliast is an interesting thing because Sri Aurobindo uses the word as an adjective. He's talking about scoliast lines. And Scoliast is one of the ancient commentators who annotated or wrote explanatory notes on classical authors. So we
Okay.
see that this is someone who's a commentator or a writer.
Okay. All right.
So we see this age's wisdom, which is so vast, is now shriveled, even to the scoliast lines, something explanatory notes.
Hmm.
Now, shrank, patterned into a copybook device. Well, a copybook, very simply, it's a book that contains models, usually of penmanship, but it could be of anything else, for learners to imitate.
Hmm.
So it's commonplace, it's stereotyped, this copybook. We can say it's a stereotyped device
Okay.
or a commonplace device.
So he's meaning to say that there is nothing unique about it. It shrank patterned into a copybook device. So it's
Yeah, commonplace device.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because it's an adjective here.
yeah.
Now, the spirits, oh, you have to begin again.
The spirits almighty freedom was not here. A schoolman mind had captured life's large space, but chose to live in bare and
Paltry.
paltry rooms, parked off from the too vast, dangerous universe, fearing to lose its soul in the infinite.
So now you see how Sri Aurobindo is giving us all these lines. He's
Hmm.
talking about scoliast lines, the age's wisdom, everything shrinking into this copybook device.
Hmm.
Even the Spirit's almighty freedom was not here in this place, in this entry into the inner countries, Canto 3.
Hmm.
So why? I think we've done Spirit before, have we?
We have.
Okay. So the spirit's freedom is not there. Even a schoolman mind. See how he talks about copybook, schoolman mind.
Hmm.
The schoolman mind is, again, someone who is engaged in scholastic pursuits. So
Hmm.
you see, he brings that word scholiast in above, shriveled to scoliast lines, then copybook, and
Yeah.
then schoolman. Isn't it interesting how it all begins to fit together, and we
Yeah.
see how small this life is,
Yeah.
and then the schoolman mind, this tiny mind, but you know, had captured life's large space. It captured it, but it chose to live in bare and paltry rooms. Paltry is interesting. It's trifling or insignificant or petty, very, very small.
Okay.
And it is parked off. Parked off, you see, it's stationed or
Hmm.
enclosed,
Hmm.
parked off from the too vast, dangerous universe. Why is it like that? Because it fears to lose its soul in the infinite.
Hmm.
Oh. And then he's going to continue. And I
Even
don't know if have we done the idea.
I'm not sure. We'll check.
Okay, okay.
Even the idea's ample sweep was cut into a system chained to fixed pillars of thought, or riveted to matter's solid ground, or else the soul was lost in its own heights, obeying the ideal's high-browed law. Thought based a throne on unsubstantial air, disdaining earth's flat triviality. It barred reality out to live in its it barred reality
It,
out to live in its dreams.
very good, very good. You got it. You corrected it. So now we have to see if we did the idea.
Yes.
Capital I. This is one of Sri Aurobindo's main words, idea or real idea.
No, we have not done idea. We've done ideal, not idea.
Yeah, okay. So Sri Aurobindo speaks of the supermind in three ways.
Hmm.
He speaks of it as the real idea or the divine gnosis, and once in a while as the supermind.
Hmm.
He doesn't prefer to use supermind very often because of Nietzsche and the Superman. For Nietzsche was the aggrandized ego of man, which was what Hitler's thing was when he was approached by that Asura. So the idea is very important, and we can do the whole thing.
The idea is the realization of a truth in consciousness as the fact in its as the fact is its realization in power.
And that's in his little book, The Supermental Manifestation.
Hmm.
Small book, difficult to read, but a good book. So we see that the idea is this realization of a truth in consciousness, and the fact becomes the realization of that truth in power.
Power.
Okay, carry on.
The idea is not a reflection of the external fact which it is so much which it so much exceeds. Rather, the fact is only a partial reflection of the idea which has created it. I read it again. The idea is not a reflection of the external fact which it so much exceeds. Rather, the fact is only a partial reflection of the idea which has created it. Okay.
So clear, very clear.
Yeah. The view I'm presenting goes farther in idealism. It sees the creative idea as real idea. That is to say, a power of conscious force expressive of real being, born out of real being, and partaking in its nature
Of
and
its nature.
of its nature, and neither a child of the void nor a weaver of fictions. It is conscious reality throwing itself into mutable forms of its own imperishable and immutable substance. The world is therefore not a figment of conception in the universal mind, but a conscious birth of that which is beyond mind into forms of itself.
He has said this in many different ways
Yes.
throughout the life divine.
Okay.
But this real idea is the supermental.
Okay.
So we need to know that as a synonym, just as we need to know the divine gnosis is the supermental.
Okay.
So this conscious reality, which throws itself into these mutable forms endlessly, but it's out of his own substance. It's the divine throwing himself out.
Hmm.
And therefore, he says the world is therefore not a figment of conception in the universal mind, but a conscious birth of that which is beyond mind into forms of itself. So the divine is throwing forms of himself into manifestation. And he will continue again now. Very interesting from Life Divine.
In supermind, being, consciousness of knowledge, and consciousness of will are not divided as they seem to be in our mental operations. They are a trinity, one movement with three effective aspects. Each has its own effect. Being gives the effect of substance, consciousness the effect of knowledge, of the self-guiding and shaping idea, of comprehension and apprehension. Will gives the effect of self-fulfilling force. But the idea is only the light of the reality illuminating itself. It is not mental thought nor imagination, but effective awareness.
Self-awareness.
Effective self-awareness. It is real idea.
And here we have real idea again.
Again, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm glad that we've got this very clearly now.
Yeah.
That there are these just different synonyms for
Yeah.
the supermental.
Yeah.
So what he's telling us here is we have three different things. We have being,
Yeah.
And being gives the effective substance.
Yeah.
Consciousness gives the effective knowledge.
Knowledge.
And then he says that the idea is only the light of reality illumining itself.
Hmm.
It is not mental thought nor imagination, but effective self awareness. It is the supermind, the supermental. Okay, carry on.
As mind is only a final operation of supermind, so life is only a final operation of the conscious force, of which real idea is the determinative form and creative agent. Consciousness, that is force, is the nature of being, and this conscious being manifested as a creative knowledge will is the real idea of supermind.
And there he spells it out for us.
I'll read it again. As mind is only a final operation of supermind, so life is only a final operation of the conscious force
No,
of
it's consciousness force. You read
consciousness
it
force.
wrong the first time also.
Okay.
Consciousness force.
Consciousness force. So
Chit
life,
Shakti. Chit
Chit
Shakti.
Shakti. Okay, okay. So life is only a final operation of the consciousness force, of which real idea is the determinative form and creative agent. Consciousness is consciousness, that is force, is the nature of being, and this conscious being manifested as a creative knowledge, will, is the real idea or supermind.
Yes. So we see that real idea is the determinative form, and it's the creative agent. So we have the three levels above the supermind: Sat, Chit, Ananda.
Chit, Ananda.
And we have three levels below the supermind: body,
Huh.
life, and mind. So the supermind is in the middle of these three and the lower three. And,
Okay.
and so it is the determinative force and the creative agent, because everything comes out of the supermind into manifestation. Sat Chidananda is not manifested.
Okay.
It does not manifest. It only comes through the supermind, which is able to manifest it. So this is this creative knowledge will that is the real idea or supermind. Is it a little clearer for you?
Not fully. I'll have to read it again. But I have a doubt, which is here he's saying will is the real idea or the supermind. So supermind, divine gnosis, supramental, real idea are all the same.
Knowledge dash will. It's one word.
Knowledge,
Knowledge will.
creative knowledge will is the real idea or supermind.
So Chit Shakti, real idea, supermind, divine gnosis, all things synonymous.
And supramental?
Same.
Same. Okay. Okay.
Last one then.
The idea is only a partial expression of the spirit.
But here it is, the lowercase idea.
Okay, yeah.
So now we continue on for a little bit. Well, we got a few minutes yet.
Yeah.
So even the idea's ample sweep was cut. How was it cut? It was cut into a system. And it was chained to these fixed pillars of thought. Or it was riveted to matter's solid ground. That's a strong statement. Riveted. That means something that is secured with bolts or pins. When you rivet something, you fix it firmly.
Hmm.
So we have these people who rivet things in a workshop to make something. And
Yeah.
now we see that this system is riveted to the solid ground of matter. It's
Hmm.
fixed. You can't move it. But
Okay.
we've done matter before, I'm
Yes, we
sure.
have done matter before.
Then he says, or else the soul was lost in its own heights. And then he has a colon there.
Hmm.
And he says, obeying the ideals, and we've done ideals,
Yes, we have done.
highbrowed law. Well, a highbrowed law is someone who is intellectually superior.
Okay.
We say this fellow's a highbrow. You've heard the word before or not?
No, no, not in
No,
this
it's much more of a Western word,
Yeah.
but anyone who's a highbrow who has superior intellectual attainments,
Yeah.
intellectually superior.
Hmm.
So, where are we now? Why don't we read from the beginning because it's almost time.
Yeah. Okay.
Good. And that'll give you a little bit more substantial knowledge.
Yes. Her will lived closed in adamant walls of law. Coerced was her force by chains that fiend to adorn.
Feigned,
Feigned,
feigned.
feigned
F
to
A I.
adorn.
Think of it as
Yeah,
FAINED. Feigned.
feigned to adorn.
Mm-hmm.
Imagination was present in a fort. Her wanton and licentious favourite, reality's poise and reason's symmetry were set in its place, sentinelled by marshalled facts. They gave to the soul for throne a bench of law, for kingdom a small world of rule and line. The age's wisdom shrivelled to scholastic lines, shrank patterned into a copied book device. The spirit's almighty freedom was not here. A schoolman mind had captured life's large space, but chose to live in bare and paltry rooms.
Poultry.
Poultry,
Hall.
poultry rooms.
Hall.
But chose to live in bare and paltry rooms, parked off from the too vast dangerous universe, fearing to lose its soul in the infinite. Even the idea's ample sweep was cut into a system chained to fixed pillars of thought, or riveted to matter's solid ground, or else the soul was lost in its own heights, obeying the ideal's high-browed law.
High-browed. Your
Eyebrow,
brow, your brow
yeah,
here.
brow, eyebrow, eyebrow, brow. Obeying the ideal's high-browed law. Thought based a throne on unsubstantial air, disdaining earth's flat triviality, it barred reality out to live in its dreams.
I would like to do this passage again on Thursday.
I was thinking maybe I read also because I didn't get it quite yet. So,
Right. We'll do
yeah,
it again on Thursday.
sure.
But it's a big progress we can
Yes,
make.
yes. But
Namaste.
I feel it's also a little bit of a difficult section today.
Yeah, because they're challenging words
Yeah.
that you have not encountered before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Namaste. Thank you so
Bye.
much, Narad.
Namaste.